we felt that it was kedai to take out a night from a regular night seder, instead of learning Becharusa, Gemara, Halacha, and Yanei Musar, to take the time, a little bit bitula zeu kiyuma. Sometimes you have to be mevatel Torah to be mekayim Torah. And certainly with the Gemara and Megillah, we're still in Chodesh Adar. The Yahrtzeit of Maran Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal was Shushan Purim. The Gemara and Megillah tells us that Kovod HaTorah is greater than Limud HaTorah. And there are times where you have to put aside Limud HaTorah for Kovod HaTorah. And certainly we'll try to incorporate in this Maimed of Kovod HaTorah Limud HaTorah as well. But it's not the same. It's not the same as going through a Svara with a Chavrusa, learning, teaching. But this is Kovod HaTorah. It's interesting that Chaim Kanievsky, the person in our generation who we know he knew the most Torah. Anyone had a question they didn't know the answer to and where to find the Chazal, you went to Reb Chaim Kanievsky. And yet he had no Talmidim. He had no formal Talmidim. He wasn't a Rav, he wasn't a Rebbe, he wasn't a Rosh Yeshiva. People became his Talmidim from going to him, listening to him, talking to him. It's hard to say someone was a Talmud that he goes in his Mahalach. There are those who were zeichet to become close to him, those who got in early before he became popular. The truth is, there were people who even got in and got a closeness to Reb Chaim in the last 10 years. Why? That's Mazel Min HaShamayim. That's because Reb Chaim decided this person he wants to be mechazik, this person he feels he can be Male Aliyas, so he gave him the time of day. I want to say just one Maisa before introducing our guest speaker, my Yedid, Hagoin Reb Aaron Pessin, who Baruch Hashem we've had many times over the years, and it's always fascinating to listen to, and shared a close kesher, a close shaykhis to Reb Chaim. One Maisa. A few weeks ago I was in Eretz Yisrael, and the Agudas Yisrael had a Yahrtzeit Kala. Had about 350 people come from America, a few from Europe, and they gathered in the Ramada Hotel for 4 days of learning. It's a beautiful sight. Huge conference room opened up, and many hundreds of people learning. And they had shiurim throughout the day. So twice I was able to sneak away from what I was doing to go to Kabbalah shiurim. They also had, because it was within a few weeks of the Yahrtzeit of Reb Chaim, they had Rabbi Leo Man. I think many know who that was. He was also someone who already 30 plus years ago became close with Reb Chaim. And he had a very interesting relationship with him. Almost like a Talmud Chaver. His personality was such that he was very chutzpahdik in the right time. He was able to bring out things from Reb Chaim. And one Maisa that I heard from him that I think we could learn from it was very mechazik me, I was ma'ira from it very much, and I think we could all become like Reb Chaim. The Maisa was like this. One year, Erev Pesach fell out on Friday. When Erev Pesach falls on a Friday, there's a question when the Tainas Bechorim is. When does the Bechor have to fast? Or if you want to not fast, you make a siyum. The Mishtamura Paskins it's on Thursday. But there are shittas, there are opinions, it's on Friday. So Reb Chaim said that the Stipler told him, since he's a Bechor Reb Chaim, that he should make a siyum on Thursday, and if he can, he should also make a siyum on Friday. So Thursday he made his famous siyum on Kollel Terakula. That was on Thursday. And Friday morning, or Friday midday, he made another siyum. What did he make a siyum on? So he told Rabbi Leo Man, he made a siyum on one Masechta. Which Masechta? Bava Basra. So Rabbi Leo Man says, Behirur or Bedibur? So Chaim said that the Chazon Ish actually would make siyumim even on Hirer. He would be maharer Masechtas Chulin, and he would make a siyum. He said, but I hold that if you want to eat on Tainis B'chayrim, if you are only making a siyum behirur, you can only eat behirur. If you want to eat for real, you have to do a bedibur. This is what he said. So Beleo Masa, Bava Basra, why Bava Basra? So Chaim says, I wanted to see if I could do Bava Basra in one day. But there's one addition to the story. Besides for Bava Basra, he also made a siyum on another Masechta at that time. Which Masechta? HaRav. Everybody knows HaRav is the smallest Masechta in Shas, 12 blot. What's up is HaRav? You made a siyum Bava Basra, what's up is HaRav? Why also HaRav? So Reb Chaim told him, because I had extra time. Because I had extra time. And that, I think, is something that we could all be Reb Chaim Kanievsky. What's the pshat here? Pshat is, and Reb Leo Man stellt zu the famous Gemara, rightfully so, the Gemara in Chagiga, Tessam and Beis, coming up in the Haftarah Shabbos HaGodol, V'shavtem Uri'isem, Bein Tzadik LaRosha, Bein Oived Elikim LaAsher Lo Yavodoi. Fragt die Gemara, Hainu Tzadik, Hainu Oived Elikim, Hainu Rosha, Hainu Lo Yavodoi. The Gemara says, Ein Adoime, Mi Sheshoyne Pirkei Meya Pa'amim, Lemi Sheshoyne Pirkei Meya Pa'amim Ve'achas. The Gemara says they can't compare someone who learned something 100 times to someone who learned something 100 times plus one more time. And that the Gemara says that if a person is already at that level, that he's able to learn a certain amount, the Gemara's terms it's 100 times, it means a nice round number where we feel, oh, I finished 100 times. Most of us, 100 times, that's it. Let's say I was going to give tzedakah. For 100 days in a row, I didn't miss a day that I'm not going to give tzedakah. On Shabbos, I said, how much am I going to give tonight? And after Shabbos, 100 days in a row. Most of us say, oh, Baruch Hashem, 100 days of tzedakah in a row, didn't miss a day. All right, what do we do the next day? Let's go out to eat the next day. Let's celebrate. The Gemara said, you know what they do the next day? Give one more. You learned Bava Basra, you did it. You have extra time. Let's take it easy. You have extra time? Yeah? Learn HaRav. And in any area of Avodas Hashem, I'm davening a certain amount, putting in a certain amount into my tefillah. Good, I'm happy with it. There's, in the Gemara's terminology, sometimes it can be the difference between someone who's considered an Oved Hashem and a Lo Yavodei. The person already got to that point. He's working on himself. He's doing. He didn't go the next step. The 101 times means that there are no gvulim. There's no boundaries. Sometimes we set boundaries for ourselves, which is good. We need goals to get us moving. But it comes a point in time to say, okay, that's it. I did my quota, I'm done. The 101 times is beyond the quota. That's because this one I'm not doing for myself, for my own quota, to make myself feel good. This one I'm doing for the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That is, to me, it was an unbelievable Maisa. Because it's a Maisa about not what's beyond us about Reb Chaim Kanievsky. We can't make the siyum on Kol HaTorah Kula every year. We can't make the siyum on Bava Basra in one day. We can't make the siyum on HaRav in a few hours. But we can push ourselves to when we think we're finished to do one more time, to do one more thing, and to come from a Lo Yavodei to an Avodei. The schus of gathering for the Yahrtzeit of this giant of Torah that we were zeicher to live in his midst, and some of us here were zeicher to interact with, to talk to be in his presence. Should be a schus for us and our mishpachos. Without further ado, we'll ask HaGoyin Reb Maran to share some thoughts and hashkafas and aseris with us.
always a tremendous chus to be here, a great pleasure. Rishus, Yedid Nafshi, Rosh Yeshiva, Rosh Kollel, Ramat Aschelko, and Shal Sfarim, many more to come. Zephyr, staff, to meet my old Chaverim, to make new ones in Mirz Hashem. I want to read to you a passage that a Tana, 2,000 years ago, wrote about Maran Sarator Reb Chaim Kanievsky. Reb Meir, Stam Mishnah Reb Meir. Perek Yavos Perek Vav. Mishnah Aleph, Reb Meir Oimer. Kol ha'oisek b'Torah lishma. One who learns Torah for Torah's sake. Zoiche ledvarim harbe. He merits to have many things. What are those many things? Velo od ela shekol ha'olam kuloi kedai hulo, was worth it to create the entire world for him. Nikra Reya, he is called a friend. Ahuv, beloved. Oyev es ha'makom, he loves the Bnei Shel Olam. Oyev es ha'briois, he loves humankind. Mesameach es ha'makom, mesameach es ha'briois. He gladdens HaKadosh Baruch Hu and people. Umalbashtoi anava ve'yira. Remember, all this is to a person who does one thing. He learns Torah lishma. The Torah somehow dresses him with anava, with yira, umachsharto, and it prepares him liyois tzaddik, to be a chassid, to be a yasha, to be ne'eman, trustworthy. Umarchakto min hachet, it distances himself from sin. Umekravto lidei zchus, and it gets him much closer to merits. V'nehni mimeno eitza v'tushia. People, Baruch Hashem, some people here as well. I know I was zoichet to go with the Rosh Kollel a few times to Reb Chaim, and Mistama, a few of you were there as well. Nehni mimeno, you benefit from him. You get the benefit to hear his eitza, his tushia. Bina ugvura. The Mary continues and says, V'nosenes lo malchus. Torah gives him kingship, sovereignty, umemshala, dominion, v'chikur din. He is able to go to the depth of the law and understand it. Umegalen lo razei Torah, and the secrets of Torah are revealed to him. V'nasa kemaya namisgaber uchenahar she'eino poisek. Becomes like a spring that just doesn't stop, a river that doesn't stop. Ve'evet sanua, ve'erech ruach, it becomes sanua, and has tremendous patience. Umoichel al boinoi, he forgives, even when people do terrible things to him. Umegadelto umeramemtoi al kol ha'maasim, Torah exalts him, magnifies him, and he becomes above all the things that Hashem created in this world. In other words, you could have written it much shorter. Kanievsky. So let's go over some of these and see how Reb Meir Mamish was talking about the Kanievsky. Kol ha'isek b'Torah lishma is not just to sit and learn only Torah lishma. It's also to do what the Torah tells you to do, because the Torah told you. Example. One day, the stipler, Reb Chaim's father, comes home, and Reb Chaim's sister tells her father, you know, Abba, Chaim's back is really aching. He's in terrible pain. Oh. The stipler wasn't just a pillar of Torah. The stipler was a very handy man, and he knew to do a lot of different things, not just to fix things in the house, which he did. And when people asked him, how come you do that? He says, because when you do it, you think about what you're doing, and it's a bitul Torah. But I can continue doing things and learning Torah, so for me it's not a bitul Torah. He also had good hands. So he goes to Reb Chaim, he runs over to his house, and he says, Chaime, that's how he called him, go to bed, take your shirt off, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Strange. My father tells me to take my shirt off, take it. But Reb Chaim Kanievsky heard an instruction from his father, he goes to bed. In the middle of his learning. He takes his shirt off, And the stipler comes after 5 minutes, and he starts rubbing his back. He has strong hands, and he's rubbing, and he's rubbing, and he's rubbing. Reb Chaim, at the end, the stipler says to him, stay in bed until tomorrow morning. Have a good night. Reb Chaim Kanievsky didn't open his mouth, didn't ask, Tati, what was that all about? Kibudav, your father says to you something, that's it. The stipler goes back home. So he tells his daughter, I went in, I took care of him. Mitzvah Hashem, he'll feel better tomorrow. She says, you went where? She says, to Chaime. Chaime? I told you Chaim. Chaim was his nephew who lived in the same building. He had a backache. I wasn't talking about my brother who you call Chaime. I think that's Torah Lishma. When Baruch tells you Kibudav, there's no questions asked. It says in the Torah, Kibudav, it means Kibudav. You know, I don't know, maybe Mistama here in America I can say this in Yahrtzeit, so I'm not allowed to say this. It's in English, so it's easier. Chaim Kanievsky served in the Israeli army for 10 minutes. If Chaim Kanievsky went to the army for 10 minutes, in Nebak you definitely can't say this. But here Mistama you can. It's recorded though. What happened? There was a war, and he was of that age, so they drafted him. So he's waiting outside with everybody else, but he's not going to waste his time. He takes his sefer and he's learning. And when Reb Chaim is learning, Reb Chaim is with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. He's learning. So the guy from the outside, from the inside, goes out and says, Chaim Kanievsky. Reb Chaim is learning. Chaim Kanievsky. Chaim is with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. So the guy comes over. Ah, Chaim, you're Chaim. Says to him, yeah. I'm calling you. Oh, okay. Come inside. So he goes inside. Where do you live? In Nebak. What do you do? You work? No. What do you do? You go to yeshiva. Where's the yeshiva? In Petach Tikva. What's the address of the yeshiva? I don't know. How many years have you been learning there? 3 years. And you don't know the address? No. So how do you get there? Take a bus. A guy wrote, not normal, dismissed. 10 minutes he served in the army. How is it possible that he doesn't remember the address of the yeshiva? Because Reb Chaim davened every single day to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he shouldn't remember things which are not related directly to his learning. Because he felt that every square something in his brain should be occupied only with Torah. And if something else comes in, it's instead of a little shtickle Torah. So he davened, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu answered him. Somebody once asked him, I have a friend, who asked him, what's the bracha for Bisli? You know what Bisli is? Everybody knows. Bisli. Reb Chaim wrote him an answer. I don't know what it is. Reb Chaim came to Eretz Yisrael when he was 6 years old. That means he spent there 88 years. You can't go through a Kiddush in Eretz Yisrael on a Shabbos or Bar Mitzvah of your friend, or you saw a Bisli. Somebody asked him, what is Bamba? They even sell Bamba here, right? Bamba! I don't know what it is. And I don't care to know. Because if I will, so a drop of Torah has to leave. This comes in, something else has to come out instead. So he davened for every day. I think that's Torah Lishma. Rebbetzin Kolodetsky, that's his daughter. Rebbetzin Leah Kolodetsky told me the following message. Last few months, he was in tremendous pain, but he didn't say anything. She goes in, she says, Abba, how are we doing? He says to her, Koevli, I'm in pain. Oh, if he is complaining that he's in pain, that's intense pain. Abba, what's wrong? He says to her, Koevli, I'm in pain that I can't learn. That was his pain. Yes, he had all kinds of yisurim, but he didn't care about that. That's the body. It has nothing to do with me. The real me is the neshama. So he was in pain that he can't learn. Why? Because that's Torah Lishma, because I want to learn, because the Kodesh Baruch Hu wants me to learn. All the years, people came there from all over the world. People who have a lot of money. And if you ever visited Maybach in the middle of the summer, a sauna is much colder than Maybach. And people see Reb Chaim learning and sweating, learning and sweating. So people wanted to donate an AC. And Reb Chaim all the years refused. Why? Because in Maybach, it's widely accepted, especially by Reb Chaim, L'chumah v'chazon ish. In Eretz Yisrael, you can't use electricity on Shabbos because it's manufactured by Jewish people. Chazon ish held, not allowed to. So of course, Reb Chaim doesn't, and many of people who live in Maybach don't. So Reb Chaim said, so what's going to be? You're going to put an AC here. The whole week is going to be so geschmack. For Shabbos, I don't use it. So Shabbos will be more bitzah than the weekdays? No, thank you. It's the hashkafa of an Adam Gadol that's connected to Torah. Until the last few years, they connected his house to a generator. So Baruch Hashem was able to have the AC. When they installed the AC, he asked them to write on it, Mazgana de Reb Ami and Reb Asi. Reb Ami and Reb Asi had an AC, you think? What's pshat? Mazgana is a mazgan. Mazgan in Hebrew is an AC. Mazgana in Aramaic. If there was such a thing, we would call it mazgana. The AC of Reb Ami and Reb Asi. Two ways to understand it. Ksubis Kuf Yud Beis Amud Beis, we learn about Reb Ami and Reb Asi. They used to sit and learn with the Talmidim. If it was too hot, they would move to a shaded place. If it was too cool, so they would move to where the sun is. Why? So Chas v'Sholom, no one will have any negative word to say about Eretz Yisrael. It's too hot here. It's too cold in Eretz Yisrael. No, the Chavivus of Eretz Yisrael. Mimele Reb Chaim is saying, this is the AC of Reb Ami and Reb Asi that commanded us to make sure that no one says, oh, it's too hot in Eretz Yisrael, it's too hot here. No, Chas v'Sholom. That's one way. Chulin Pei Daled Amud Beis, again we learn about Reb Ami and Reb Asi, and they command a person to do the following. Le'olam, always. Should a person eat less than what he can afford? He should buy clothing according to what he has. And he should honor his wife and his household members more than what he has. Because they are dependent on him, and he is dependent on Misha Amma v'Haya Ha'olam, he is dependent on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it's very partial. And Chaim says, you think I need the AC? I've been okay with that for the last 80 years. I don't need it. And Chaim always used to say, the first 5 minutes that you go into the sugya, that's when it's hard. That's when you feel the heat. But once you delve into the sugya, you're with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. You don't even feel the heat. So says Chaim, I don't need the AC. I'm being fine without it. But Reb Ami and Reb Asi commanded me to honor my wife and my household members with more than what I have. So put the AC. You know what the size of their kitchen was? From here until the bima. That's 1.5 times the size of their kitchen. And in the summer in Memak, and the oven is on. Imagine. My wife, I can also go to the shul if I want. I can go to Kollel Chazon Ish. I don't need the AC. But Reb Ami and Reb Asi are commanding me to honor my wife with more than what I have. Mimela, you should put the AC and write on it, this is the AC of Reb Asi and Reb Ami. That's called Torah Lishma. Machsharto liyoy tzadik v'chasid. One who learns Torah Lishma, the Torah makes him, prepares him to be a tzadik and a chasid. A chasid, Rabbi Farshim explained, is one who does lifnim mishuv asadim. Everything in his life was one big lifnim mishuv asadim. Just to give some examples, so this is practical stuff, so maybe we should apply as well. As Allah Shulchan Aruch Chaim Siman Reish Pei Hey. Shnai Mikro ve'Echa Targum. I think Shulchan Aruch had a tremendous Yad Dishmaya when he wrote the Siman. The Yahrtzeit already writes that he had Ruach HaKodesh in the titles of the Simanim and in the numbers that he attached to each Siman. For example, Hilchos Shoifar is in Tav Kuf Pei Vav. Tav Kuf Pei Vav, Gematria Shoifar. Unbelievable Yad Dishmaya, yeah? I think here as well. Reish Pei Hey in Hebrew is Rafeh, loose, lightly. People maybe don't treat it with the right approach. Le'olam yashlim adam parsh Yosef. Shnai mikro ve'echa targum. Shulchan Aruch quotes the Gemara in Brachos Daf Ches, always should a person do a complete chiyuv. And it's a great chiyuv to catch because the reward is longevity. Ma'arichin lo yama v'shelo yisam. It's kedai. So how did Reb Chaim do Shnai Mikra ve'echad Targum? Interesting insights. Before he would start, he would say a pasuk. Ve'atem ha'devekim b'Hashem Elokeichem. Chaim kulchem hayom. 7 words. By the way, some suggest when you wrap your tefillin on and you put the strap 7 times on your arm, you think of each one of those straps 7 words. Ve'atem ha'devekim b'Hashem Elokeichem Chaim kulchem hayom, because that's the ultimate in connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Reb Chaim, before he's Shnai Mikra ve'echad Targum, not to be Yahrtzeit, I've been there, done that. I'm going to connect you now through the words of your holy Torah. This is already brought in the Ateres Tzvi, and the Stipler used to do the same. Then he would read it, Mikra, Targum, Mikra, as opposed to most people, and this is what the Chazon Ish used to do as well. He would read the Parsha, read the Unkelus, and then read the Parsha again. Most people don't do that. He used to read it when he's leaning with the Tamei HaMikra. He used to do the same when he did the Haftarah, reading it with the Tamei. Yeah, but what if there's a Shabbos, that there's one Haftarah for Sfardim and one Haftarah for Ashkenazim? What do you think Reb Chaim does? So he reads them both. Let's leave the Mishur Hasadim. He will double up on the last pasuk of the Parsha. So it comes out that pasuk came out to, instead of Shnai Mikra ve'echad Targum, Shloisha Mikra ve'echad Targum. In the Klalos, the curses Parshaski, the Chukoisei Parshaski Sova, he would actually turn around if there were people in the room, Chalila, that it should be viewed as if he is cursing a person in front of him. Look at the sensitivity. In the places where one stands in the shul, as Yashir, some stand for the Klalos, for Aseres Adibrois, so he is at home by himself, Shnai Mikra ve'echad Targum, he would stand up. When it comes time to the end of the Chumash, Chazak, when he's Chazak in the shul, normally we stand. Reb Chaim is standing by himself at home, and he rises because everything is b'dikduk adin. Machsharto liyot chasid. Machsharto liyot not only chasid, but a yashar. Straight. What does that mean? Listen to the following Maaseh again. Leah Kolodetsky, his daughter Rebbetzin Kolodetsky, told me the following. She has a brother. In other words, Reb Chaim's son. His name is Shlomo. Reb Shlomo is the Rosh Yeshiva of Kiryas Melech in Bnei Brak. They needed a new building. He had a very rich guy coming from the States who was supposed to sign a deal to give him the money to buy the building. This guy asked that Shlomo should take him to his father, to Reb Chaim, to get a bracha. So, great simcha. He takes him in, and this guy says to Reb Chaim, Rebbe, I'm about to give a substantial amount to your son's yeshiva. Is it a good yeshiva? Reb Chaim looks at him and says to him like this, Ani lo yodea, lo hayiti sham. I don't know, I was never there. Shlomo becomes all red. So the guy says, but Rebbe, Al Kopanim, it's a good cause, right? It's a good yeshiva, it's a good cause. Amarti lecha, ani lo yodea, lo hayiti sham. I told you, I don't know, I'm not familiar, I was never there. Shlomo Kanievsky became so upset. He leaves the room. He goes to Leah, to his sister, Rebbetzin Kolodetsky, and says to her, you don't know what Daddy just did to me. He destroyed me and the yeshiva. I can't believe it. While he's saying this, and he's so upset and all red, this rich guy comes out of Reb Chaim's room, and he says to him, who would do such a thing? I can't believe your father. A father says about his own son's yeshiva, I don't know if it's a good place, I was never there. If you grew up with such yashus, with such honesty, I want to be a partner in your Torah. And he gave him money to afford buying 2 buildings. You think HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to punish you when you cling to emes? Yashus. Rabbi Zok Zilberstein, Shlita, one of his first Sfarim that he wrote, he gave to Reb Chaim and he asked him, please, 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 my dear brother-in-law, maybe you can go over these. Give him a lot of pages, maybe you can go over. Write your comments, correct those things that need to be corrected. If you find anything, he says, yeah, sure. After a week he gives it back and he sees every single time, and he quotes Reb Chaim a million times, every time he quotes Reb Chaim, he wrote Chaim Kanievsky. And he wrote Kanievsky with 2 yuds. Every single time, Reb Chaim goes over and erases 1 yud. Because Reb Chaim wrote his last name, Kanievsky, with 1 yud in the middle, not 2. So Reb Yitzchak gets it back from him and says, Rebbe, why'd you cross off every single time? He says, because I spell it with 1 yud. He says, fine, so you can do it once and write to me a comment, make sure you do a universal change, it's not a problem. He says, but how can I see something which is not emes and just skip it? Kanievsky is spelled with 1 yud. He didn't even understand how you can just ignore something which is not 100% emes. And what is it? A tiktuk halacha? Is it gonna any nafkamina ladina? Any practical implication? Yashrus. Mesameach es abriois, Reb Meir says. He gladdens people's hearts. I didn't see one person coming out of that house, including the Rosh Kollel, without a smile. Somehow, sometimes there were only bua, which is bracha be'atzlacha, and people came out as if they just won the lottery. $1 million. He made people happy. He had a sense of humor. Years ago, he went to the doctor. The doctor told him, you have to start exercising. This time I do. You exercise? He says, yes. You exercise? What do you do? You have a treadmill? He says, no, I exercise. What do you do? He says, 3 times a day. At the end of Shmones, I go 3 steps back, 3 steps forward. Every single day, 3 times a day. He made people happy. Umalbashto Yanava. It dresses him with humility. You know what anava is? There's a guy in Eretz Yisrael who came to him because he wanted to raise money in the States. So he asked Reb Chaim to sign a letter. He brought a letter. It's going to be much easier for him to raise the money when he has a signature from Reb Chaim. So Reb Chaim looks at the letter and he smiles. And then the guy goes out for a second. So Reb Chaim calls his grandson. He says, Ato mekir oto? Do you know this guy who was just here? He says, yeah. He says, is he normal? He says, yeah, of course. Why is Saba asking if he's normal? He says, the guy is very strange. He gave me a letter because he's going to the States. Look, I live on Rashbam Street. I don't know most of the people, and I don't think they know me. Who would know me in America? And he wasn't making a joke. There's a big discussion in the world. The Musarniks and those who oppose the Musar. How much Musar should one learn? The Mishnah Blue already writes that one should learn Musar half an hour a day. So the Musarniks want us to learn a lot of Musar. And the other side doesn't. Somebody came to the Chaim and asked the Rebbe, should one learn Musar? He said yes. So how come you don't learn Musar? I do. You learn Musar? He says yes, of course. Rebbe, we see the svarim that are on your table. You don't learn Musar. Yes, I do. What Musar svarim are you learning? So the Chaim says, look, I learn a lot of Gemara. I can sometimes learn one Bar Basra in one day and have some spare time for Oyas. And the more you learn Gemara, I see I don't understand anything. That's the biggest Musar for me. And if that's not enough, look at the following. Pilei Ploi. At the end, bring it back to the place. I want to read to you a letter that a young kid is asking of Chaim Kanievsky. לכבוד Maran Shlita. אני רוצה לגדול בתורה. I want to become great in Torah. ולזכות להיות כמו HaRav Shlita. I want to be like you. מה עליי לעשות כדי להגיע לזה? What should I do in order to achieve this? אני עדיין בחור צעיר. I'm still a young man. ויש לי הרבה מרץ. And I have a lot of energy. ושאיפוס גדולות. And great aspirations. What can Reb Chaim Kanievsky answer when one asks, I want to be like you? Behai Lishna. Rachman al-Islan. God forbid. Titpalel shetihiyeh talmid chochem. Daven that you should be a real talmid chochem, not a joker like me. Malbashto liois. What anava. The Meir tells us, "V'nehni mimeno eitza v'tushia." You benefit from his wise council. There's a group in New York, they call themselves the January group. I prefer using the Hebrew calendar, but what can I do? That's what they call themselves. They come every year, January, for 5 days. They come once Shabbos, they leave New York until Thursday, and they come to Eretz Yisrael to get spiritually charged. They go to all the rabbis, dead and alive. So about, I think 10 years ago, they contacted me, they wanted to go to Chaim Kanievsky. So one of the people, there's 5 guys, and one of them doesn't understand Hebrew, so he asks me to translate and to tell the Chaim. The story is like this. I tell the Chaim, this fellow is in business, but the first half of the day he sits in Kollel and learns, and then he goes to work. But he has great debts. Should he minimize the time that he's learning and spend more time working, be able to repay his debts, and then he'll come back to the Kollel? The Chaim says no. Chaim says no. Chaim says no. A year passes by, a January group is back in January. He asks me, get me into Chaim, and asks the same question, just add to him that my debts are now bigger. So I tell the Chaim everything, and I tell him, the matzav is no good. What should he do? He wants to spend a little more time and work a little less time learning. The Chaim says no. What do you think HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs you to work more, to send you more money? You don't think he can send you money if you sit in Kollel? 3rd year, same question, same answer. 4th year, same question, same answer. But meanwhile, the debts are bigger. 5th year, he asks me, take me to the Chaim. I want to say thank you. Well, thank you. He says, because I don't know why, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided this year to open up Sha'arei Parnasa. I didn't change anything. I want to say thank you to the Chaim. You think HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs you to cut time from your learning to send you a check because he doesn't know where you are. He can't do it otherwise. The Gemara in Avodah Zarah Yutes, Kol ha'osek b'Torah nechasav matzlichin loi. You learn Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you success. Somebody would ask him, so, a $50 million question. So how much time do you really need to spend working? 3 hours a day, the Rambam says. 5 hours a day. Some people spend 25 hours a day, they get up 1 hour earlier. How much time? The Maise. Do you need to do ishtadlus? And the Chaim says yes. Rebbe, do you do ishtadlus? Just over here. You do ishtadlus? You sure? Ishtadlus for Parnasa. Says yes. You have a business that we don't know of? The Chaim Kanievsky know. How much time do you spend on ishtadlus? The Chaim says 2 days. 2 days what? 2 days a year. What do you mean? He says davening on Rosh Hashanah. Beit Daf Tezayin, the Gemara says, "Kol mezonoisav shel Adam ksuvim lo miRosh Hashanah v'ad Rosh Hashanah." Everything is decreed in davening of Rosh Hashanah. This Reb Chaim, he has a base of in the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish in one of his letters writes that since the Geder of Ishtadlus is not clear to us, my attitude towards Ishtadlus is coolish. That's his language. And he says, therefore I hold that for a Ben Torah, the real Ishtadlus is Tefillah. That's where everything happens. If you're in business, you're in business. But a person who's a Ben Torah is sitting and learning all the time. His Ishtadlus is davening. I live in Ramat Bet Shemesh Aleph, 4 Nachal Snir. My neighbor is on 6 Nachal Snir. His name is Yitzchak Khuri. We call him Itzik. Itzik is happy that I'm sharing his personal story and his name. Itzik Khuri gets married. 2, 3, 5, 7 years, no kids. 12, 13, 15, 17. You can imagine he did all the sguros. 18, 19, 20 years, no children. He goes to Reb Chaim. Rebbe, what's the Eitzah? Reb Chaim says to him, build a mikveh in a place they don't have. Mida keneged mida. Measure for measure. You allow other couples to have children, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you children. Itzik doesn't have too much money. He starts raising money. Some of our friends went on his behalf to here to the States, and they collected money. After a few months, Baruch Hashem, 750,000 shekels. They built a beautiful mikveh in a place called Moshav Zohar, about 35 minutes south of Bet Shemesh. Beautiful mikveh. They inaugurated it, Aleph Tammuz. They called me. I spoke there. It was very emotional, very, very special. That night, his wife became pregnant. 9 months later, baby girl, Vikar Eshma B'Yisrael Rivka. Ad kan HaKofe Aleph. Now comes HaKofe Beis. Itzik Churi has a brother whose name is Neri. Neri gets married. 2, 3, 5, 7, 10, 11, 13 years, no children. A month after his brother, older brother, Itzik, went to Reb Chaim, he figured, I'm also going to go. He goes to Reb Chaim. He says, Rabbi, 13 years. I don't have children. What should I do? So Reb Chaim says to him, be makpid and meiser. Meiser? Every shekel that comes in, I give 10%. I'm very strict with that. I didn't mean meiser ksofim. I meant meiser peiros. And that's a sort of tumis and meisers. So he says, I'm very strict with that as well. I buy from a store, they're very strict. Meiser peiros. So he says to Reb Chaim, Rebbe, my brother was just here last month. You told him to build a mikveh. Maybe I should build a mikveh as well. Meiser peiros. You think it's one size fits all? Eruvin Samach Dalet. Kidvar Hashem b'fiv. HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts the right words in his mouth. He doesn't even know what he's saying. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts those words. So Neri goes back to Yerushalayim. That's where he lives, in Gilo neighborhood. And he goes to the store and he checks them out. And they were not strict at all. He stopped buying them. 3 weeks later, his wife is pregnant. 9 months later, baby boy. Big boy. They interview Itzik all over Eretz Yisrael. TV, radio channels, all over. Big Kiddush Hashem, tremendous. One day Itzik comes to me and he tells me, you know, it's amazing what happened there with my brother with Neri. Before he got married, he lived by me for 6 months. One day he tells me, you know, Itzik, after I get married, first you and then me. You should have kids first and then me. I said, what are you doing? What are you saying? Don't say this. Don't. He says, no, it's only right. You're older than me. You're married many years. It's only right. You should have kids first, and then I should have them. Don't say that. Don't say that. He opened his mouth. He had to wait 13 years to have children. Don't open your mouth. Recently, an almana told me that she went with her husband 5 years ago to write a will. They go into the lawyer. And the lawyer says, so, we'll call him Mr. Cohen. And he here. So how many years do you think you're going to stay here? Not a very wise question for the lawyer to ask. But he thought it's kind of funny. He says, 5 years max. 5 years later, he's gone. Why do you have to open your mouth? Reb Chaim is sitting in a Kiddush. Shabbos. This is a Kiddush for a Chassan who is marrying a Kala who's an orphan. Reb Chaim is not really, he's here, he's sitting here with us, but he's not here. His head is, he's learning. So he takes salt and he starts salting whatever it was that in front of him. And he keeps salting it. And he's salting because he's in Baalbasa. He's salting it. Then jokingly he says to the Chassan who's sitting next to him, here, take some shiraim. He had too much on his plate. The Chassan didn't see that it's too salted, but he took a bite and whoa. He stopped. So the Chaim says, no, eat, it's plenty. Eat more, eat more. No, it's okay. Eat. No, it's fine. Eat. No, it's fine. He was embarrassed to say, but then he had to. The Chaim cornered him. So he told him, it's not for me. I don't like it. It's too salty. The Chaim says, eat it. You have to eat it. He says, what do you mean? He says, you are now marrying a Yesoima. You're marrying an orphan. You have to get used to eating things which are not necessarily so delicious. Because you're going to be hosted by your mother. Her mother's an almana. If her mother is going to notice that you don't like her food, you're Mitzayah an almana. To cause sorrow to an almana, it'll be dangerous. Gitin Lamed Hey Amud Aleph, Rav Huna almost lost his life. The Machlokes Tanaim, when the Torah says don't cause sorrow to an almana, does that mean an almana or anyone like her? Machlokes in a Mechilta, the Bekiva is one of the Cholkim. is an almana, a yosum, an example for those people who don't have the support system, they don't have the father, they don't have the husband to run to. Or it means an almana and a yosum. Machlok is tanoim. I think it's kedai to be machmir. You can't cause sorrow to anyone, but here's two for the price of one. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is very strict with those who chalila offend Yesoyim and almanois. V'nosenes no malchus u'memshala. The Torah gives him sovereignty, dominion. A man is sitting in a tiny little apartment in Bnei Brak, and the whole world bows down to any word that comes out of his mouth. Pilei ploim. Gemon Gittin Samech Beis, Malchi Rabbanon, who is a melech, a true king. Rabbanon. The Torah gives him malchus, kingship, without ever leaving his house. As the Rosh Kollel said before, no official shtela, he wasn't a HaRav, not even of a neighborhood. It's not true that he never had work. He did work. For 1 hour in his life, he worked. He was a Rebbe for 1 hour. Why didn't he look for work? Because his father, the stipler, and his uncle, the Chazon Ish, told him, that's not for you. You shouldn't work. You should sit and learn and write. So that's what he did. But once a friend of his calls, and he was a Rebbe, and he says, listen, I have to go to the doctor. Maybe you can sub for me for just 1 hour. So the Chaim said, fine, Gminus Chesed. He comes into the classroom, and after 2 minutes, one of the kids says, Rebbe, can I use the restroom? The kid says, you say no. So the kid leaves. So his friend, 2 seconds later, says, Rebbe, can I also go? Yeah. The Chaim says after 7 minutes, he's by himself in the entire class. So that was his experience with working, 1 hour. So without working, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him dominion and sovereignty over the entire world. The Torah gives him chikur din, to be able to understand the depth of the law. Shoini halachos, derech emuna. Halachos have tattoos. What's Shegen Aktav is the name of the sefer. Hilchos chagavim. Want to know everything you want to know about the locusts? Open up your sefer. No one in Eretz Yisrael and in the world entire, if you want to learn Hilchos Shemitah, can move without derech emuna. Can't move without it. Chikur din. Megalin lo razei Torah. Torah reveals its secrets to him. I once asked him an interesting shayla. The Gemara in Ksubis Kuf Yud Beis says that every 4 amos one walks in Eretz Yisrael, mitzvah. Every 4 amos. Mistakenly, some people think it's 4 new amos. There's no source of that. It's every 4 amos, even if your whole life is from your house to the shul, to the Bes Medrash, and come back. Every 4 amos, a mitzvah. I once asked him, what if I'm driving my car? I live in Haifa and I'm driving to Yerushalayim every day, back and forth. Very comfortable car. Put the AC on. Every 4 amos, also a mitzvah. The Chaim writes to me in his lengthy style 3 words. Kiddushin Lamed Gimel. Roichev kemehalech dami. One who's riding a donkey is considered as if he's walking. So yes, every 4 amos a mitzvah. So I go to him, I said, Rebbe, so let's take a hot shot. I'm going to jump now into the pool that I don't have in my backyard. Do some laps. Every 4 amos also a mitzvah. Every 4 amos a mitzvah? Chaim says to me, yes. Listen to him, I say. In Bnei Brak is a rabbi, his name is Reb Tzvi Yabrov. He wrote more than 700 indexes for Sfarim, Maftechos. He even did for the stipler. The Kiddush Yankev, I was there, he did for one of my Sfarim from the Midah. He goes once to Reb Chaim, and Reb Chaim was walking back from the Letterman Shul to his house. It's a 2-minute walk. He says to him, I heard that once the Chazon Ish told a midget, why you look so depressed? You have a Tisha B'Av face. What's so wrong? You know, Nebuchadnezzar was much shorter than you. Nebuchadnezzar was only 1 tefach tall. Is that true? He asks Reb Chaim. Reb Chaim says, yeah. He says, what does it say in Chazal? That Nebuchadnezzar was 1 tefach tall? You know, Paro was a giant compared to him. How tall was Paro? 1 hour, that's 6 tefachim, that's 6 Nebuchadnezzars. Where does it say in Chazal? So Reb Chaim starts thinking, it's not in Bavli, not in Yerushalmi, no, it's not there. Come upstairs with me. So they go upstairs this after Mincha. There's 150 people waiting out his door, but Reb Chaim asked him to come up. He closed the door and he starts looking. And he takes his medrash, and he takes his medrash, and he takes his medrash, and takes his medrash, and he's looking. There's 150 people outside. 45 minutes. And Reb Chaim couldn't find it. The Tzvi goes back home. In his shul, Davin's a guy, Weinberg is his name, who's in charge of the whole Bar Ilan Responsa. You know the Bar Ilan Responsa? Amazing tool, unbelievable. One little CD has 15 times the spelling that are here in this Kollel. He tells him, listen, maybe with your computers, you can do some research and find where Chazal say that Nebuchadnezzar was only one tefach Torah. So sure. Weinberg goes to Bar Ilan and he tells all the people, please, find it. We have to help Reb Chaim. And they do all kinds of types of searches on their computer, can't find it. So a week later, Reb Tzvi goes back to Reb Chaim and says, Rebbe, you know, we discussed last week, Nebuchadnezzar, Tefach. I asked Weinberg that they should ask the computers. It doesn't exist. I don't think it exists in Chazal. And Reb Chaim starts laughing. Oh, no, I already found it. It's in Yalkut Shimoni, in Daniyah. Rebbe, Taf, Reish Samach Beis. And also in Machzor Vitri, in Reish Peites. Oh, Shkoyach, he says to him. Rebbe, can I ask you a question? Last week when I came here, you stopped everything. 45 minutes. There's 150 people outside. This is not a pikuach nefesh shayla. It's not a halachic discussion. What was so important that you had to stop everything to find Nebuchadnezzar Tefach, and for that you had to stop everything and people waiting outside? Why? Reb Chaim looked at him as if he fell from the moon. He couldn't understand the question. He said, what do you mean? I forgot part of my Torah. How can I continue? He couldn't understand the question. That's Torah Lishma. Not to impress anyone. Because I forgot part of my Torah and I will be tested on it after 120. Kamayana misgaber. Have a strengthening spring. How many Sfarim did he write? In all Miktzor HaTorah. Is there a subject that he didn't touch? It's a pity. Moichel al boinoi. He forgives. I have a friend who said some very not nice things, that put in that language about Reb Chaim. Very not nice things. He had to do something with his son. He didn't like what happened with Reb Chaim. After about a year, he saw that Baruch Hashem, it all turned out to be a wonderful thing. He goes to Reb Chaim to ask his forgiveness. He says, Rebbe, I said some very not nice things about you, and I want the Rebbe to be moichel me. Reb Chaim starts laughing. Oh, no problem. He didn't ask, what did you say? He didn't say, well, okay, think about it, I'll be moichel you. Didn't even care. No, don't worry about it. So he says, no, really, I want the Rebbe to say that he's moichel me. And Reb Chaim says, don't worry about it. So he says, so, Rebbe, can you give a bracha for refuah shlema for my father? He says, sure. And he starts giving him a slew of brachos with warmth. Moichel al boinoi. One was moiser nefesh to Torah. So the Torah gives itself to him. What's the Mesirus Nefesh? Yud Aleph Tammuz, about 25 years ago or so, Rebbetzin Elyoshiv passed away. Rebbetzin Elyoshiv is Reb Chaim Kanievsky's wife, Batsheva Kanievsky's mother. So Batsheva Kanievsky, the Rebbetzin Alei Shalom, wants to go to the Levaya. Kanievsky is in Bnei Brak, and the Levaya is in Yerushalayim. She's getting ready to go to the funeral, and the driver is already downstairs. As she's walking down, she sees a bird's nest. Oh. Shiluach HaKen. She just lost her mother. She's on the way to the funeral. She calls one of her grandchildren. She says, listen, do me a favor. There's a guy in a Kollel, not too far away from here, that I've been davening for him for many years. He doesn't have children. And I told him to do Shiluach HaKen, because Chazal say in the Medrash Tanchuma that Shiluach HaKen, performing this mitzvah, is a segula to have children. Do me a favor. Run over. I know you still didn't do it. You didn't find the chance. Run over and ask him to come here. Tell him to come real soon, because we're leaving to Yerushalayim. I'm going downstairs, but the Chaim is still upstairs. The grandson runs to that Kollel, brings this fellow. He comes, but the bird didn't wait for him. The bird already left. So Reb Chaim is staying with him. They have to go to the funeral. Reb Chaim is staying with him. Baruch Hashem, a few minutes later, the bird comes back. So Reb Chaim takes his coat, he's about to leave. He says, Rebbe, can I ask you a question? Can I use the Shiluach HaKen? Can I do it while I'm holding a stick? Or I have to be rushed with my hands? So Reb Chaim says you can do it with a stick. He does the Shiluach HaKen. 9 months later, baby boy. He thinks it's because the mitzvah is good. We know the truth. It's because the Mesirus Nefesh of the Rebbetzin and Reb Chaim, the Dikdukei Halacha. I once came in on behalf of a family in England. The father was very sick, he had cancer. And there was a big machlokes between the doctors. A group of doctors were saying, we have to do a certain treatment. And if not, he's going to die. The other group of doctors said, we can't do this treatment. It's too dangerous. Big machlokes. What do you do? So I go to Reb Chaim. I said, Rebbe, they want to know what they should do. Should they do the treatment or not? Reb Chaim says to me, Ta'aseh goyral. I say goyral. Do some kind of a raffle, a lottery. I said, Rebbe, I'm not doing a goyral. You're doing it. It's because nefesh shayla. Rebbe, you do it. He says to me, come, I'll show you how. He taught me how to do it. He does the goyral, and he says to me, they should do the treatment. That's it. Pikuach nefesh shayla. Psak. This specific story doesn't have a good ending. They didn't listen to him. They decided to go with a group of doctors and say, don't do it. 2 weeks later, Zichrono livracha. Torah gives him dominion and sovereignty to answer all the questions in the world, even those which are not found in Shulchan Aruch. After Pesach, Tafshin Ayin Gimel, so it's exactly 10 years ago, it started raining. After Pesach, raining, it's very unusual for Eretz Yisrael. Raining in Bnei Brak. So the mayor of Bnei Brak, Rabbi von Brunstein, comes into Reb Chaim. He says to him, I have a question. We built a new mikveh. It's not full yet. We normally don't ask for rain after Pesach. It's called a siman klala. It's a curse. We don't ask for it. But since it's already raining, can I ask that it should continue to rain? Reb Chaim says this language. He says to him, no. But don't worry, it won't stop raining until your mikveh is going to be full. It rained for 4 more days, his mikveh was full. You become the ruler of the world. Your moiser nefesh to Torah, the Torah is given over to you. And the Torah is a blueprint for the entire world. Iksubis Kuf Beis, Kuf Gimel Amud Beis, and Soita Yud Beis Amud Beis, Chazal say, Tzadik Goizer, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Mekayim. A Tzadik decrees something, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is forced to fulfill. There's a person who's in the government, very important position. He was marrying off his son. He comes with the following question to Reb Chaim. I'm going to marry my son in the month of Adar. It's going to be in the big synagogue in Yerushalayim. You know the big synagogue right across from the hotel? They have a big courtyard. My shaila is, where should I do the chuppah? Should I do it inside or should I do it outside? What's the shayla? Since my position in the government, the president is going to be there, some Knesset members are going to be there, it's a big security issue. Now, if we're going to do it inside, so we can open up the roof and do the chuppah inside, it's much easier security-wise. But if it's going to rain, so we're going to have to go outside. And the security people are telling us it's very dangerous to watch over the president and the other Knesset members in that big courtyard. But then again, it's the month of Adar. So maybe, from the get-go, we should do it outside. We don't know what to do. Is it going to rain in my wedding? He wants to turn Reb Chaim into a meteorologist. Reb Chaim says to him, "Lo yered geshem b'chatuna shelcha." It's not going to rain in your wedding. Reb Chaim says something. Fine. He goes back, he says to the Shabak, to the security agents, "We can do the chuppah inside, it's not going to rain." Great. Comes the month of Adar, and it didn't stop raining the entire day. Comes time for the chuppah, the rain stops. They open up the roof, they do the chuppah, they close the roof, the rain resumes and didn't stop the entire day. This person is, wow, unbelievable. He tells it to everyone. It's mamish unbelievable, Kiddush Hashem. So one of Reb Chaim's grandsons hears it, and he goes to him, he says, "Saba, how did you know it's not going to rain?" "I didn't know." "So why did you tell him it's not going to rain his wedding?" He said, "Because the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah Daf Yudaled Amud Aleph says, first of Shvat is Rosh Hashanah leilanois. So Rosh Hashanah for the trees. Why? Kevan sheyatzu rov gishmei shana." Rashi explains, the majority of days, the rainy days already passed, so it's considered Rosh Hashanah leilanos. So he says, if rov gishmei shana yatzu, if the majority of rain already rain, and it's not going to rain again, because we have halacha, we always go basarov, we always go after the majority, so it's svera pshuta, it's not going to rain. Reb Chaim only had Torah in his cup, there was nothing else other than that. And the Torah says something, so it's pashut, that's what it's going to be. Little did he know that it's not because of the Rov, it's because Reb Chaim said something, so Kodesh Baruch Hu turned it to be like that. Interesting, Mechilta. The pasuk in Malachi. Zichru Toiras Moshe. Asks the Mechilta, why is the Torah called Toiras Moshe? Torah for Kodesh Baruch Hu. And the Mechilta says because Moshe was Moiser Nefesh to the Torah, and therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu named the Torah for him. So you're wondering how did it show me how Moshe Rabbeinu was Moiser Nefesh? The Medrash explains. He was with HaKadosh Baruch Hu for 40 days and he didn't eat and didn't drink. Excuse me? Wow, what Mesirus Nefesh. Chavrusa with HaKadosh Baruch Hu! Who wouldn't switch places with Moshe Rabbeinu? You know what it says in Medrash Haggadah? Dvarim, Perek Tes, Pasuk Tes. Heichan haya nizoin. Ultimately, he is a human being. He doesn't eat, doesn't drink for 40 days. How was he sustained? The Bible says, "Haya nizoin miziva shchina." He was sustained from the glory and splendor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shchina. Poor Moshe. Oh, what Mesirus Nefesh? What Mesirus Nefesh? He's with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kishman says he's like an angel now. He doesn't need to eat, doesn't need to drink. What's the Mesirus Nefesh? Reb Chaim Kreisworth was a Gaon Olam. When he used to go and speak with Reb Chaim in learning, it would be code ping pong. Avoid the Zohar Yutes. Mishnah Lamelechim, the Rambam over there. Yeah, but what about Ktsois over there? They would just go with codes. Reb Chaim was the man who knew the entire Torah Kula. And he explains, you know what the Mesirus Nefesh of Moshe Rabbeinu was? That he was willing to give up his Bechira Chofshis. When you go up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you no longer have Bechira Chofshis. We many times don't want the Bechira Chofshis. We want to be able to get up in the morning and to jump out of it, to be the first one in Shul, to learn the entire Seder without looking at the clock for a second, without going out to drink something or to schmooze for 2 minutes, not to have the Yetzer But that's what you're rewarded for. Eternally. Think about it. Get up in the morning, go to the office, go home, you turn on your computer. You're working on it for hours. At the end of the day, shut it off. Did you ever say to your computer, wow, good job today. I'm going to get you something for that. It's a program machine. Program machines don't get anything as reward because that's what they're programmed to do. Who wants to be programmed? When you go upstairs to Kodesh Baruch Hu and you're right next to him and you're chavrusa with him, you can't do anything wrong. You don't get rewarded for that. That's Mesirus Nefesh. As if those 40 days are 40 dead days. Because a day that you have here, a minute that you have here, with Bechira Chofshis, that you exercise, you come back to Yetzer reward. But when with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, you don't have that. So Moshe was Moiser Nefesh to the Torah. Mimele the Torah is named Zichu Torah's Moshe. Can we become a Reb Chaim Kanievsky? The Rosh Kollel seem to be saying no. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little more optimistic. Rabbi Kiva only started when he was 40. I don't know. A Reb Chaim Kanievsky will never be. That's for sure. Because there's only one. Zusha and Madi Poli, Willie Melech's brother said, I'm not worried when they're going to ask me why I wasn't the Moshe Rabbeinu. They asked me why I wasn't Zusha like I was supposed to be, fill my potential. So what are we going to be? I don't know. But we can be like a Reb Chaim to be Moiser Nefesh to Torah. You know what it means to be so Moiser Nefesh? To take upon yourself something. Last winter, I heard of my son. And wherever I went in this summer, I was here in the States, in different places I spoke, and I said this, Maise, I think you're even allowed to say this Maise in the winter. I think. You'll be the judge of that. Revel Al-Yapyan is standing in the bus stop with his Talmid. They're waiting for the bus. A few people there. After a few minutes, a lady comes over to Revel Al-Yapyan. She says to him, Slicha, ma'asha'a. Excuse me, what time is it? Rabbi Ella says to her, it's 2:15. So, thank you very much. And she steps away. After 2 minutes, she comes back. Excuse me, what time is it? It's 2:17. Thank you very much. She steps away. After 2 minutes, she comes right back. Excuse me, what time is it? It's 2:19. Oh, thank you very much. The Talmid is getting upset. He says to him, Rebbe, every single time she's going to come back, you're going to have to answer her? How many times? There's no end to it. Reb Ela Lapyan looked at his Talmid and he told him, and who told you it's the same woman? Who told you it's the same woman? If I only came to America to tell this Maise, I think it was ready to die. Who told you it's the same woman? Accept on yourself something small. Lev Yodea Maras Nafsha. Each one knows what he needs to get stronger. But this Bistama is a good thing to be stronger. Bistama even in the winter, no? Even in the winter one is allowed to. Reb Chaim left us when he was 94 years old. Nobody really believed that he's going to live forever. Because people don't last. So why is it so terrible? Last year when I was here, I said one aspect of it, but there's another. There was a guy who was planning to go to the forest. Took a candle with him. It's going to be dark there. Lights the candle. He starts walking. And he's walking, and he's walking, and he's walking. And the candle slowly but surely is blowing out. And then at one point, in fact, the candle blew out. He starts yelling, Oy vey, oy vey, oy vey. So they ask him, what are you yelling? Did you really think the candle will blow forever? The candle will last? And he says, no, I know candles don't last forever, but I thought the forest is going to end before the candle does. We thought the galus will end. It will go away before Reb Chaim does. But unfortunately, we weren't Zeicher. There's a frightening Or HaChaim HaKodesh, the beginning of Parshas Tetzaveh, we just read it 2 weeks ago. He brings Zohar Chadash. This appears twice in the Zohar. There's 4 galuyos. From the first one, we were redeemed for the schus of Avraham Avinu. From the second one, we were redeemed for the merit of Yitzchak Avinu. The third one, the schus of Yaakov. And from this fourth, long, bitter galus, we will be redeemed for the schus of Moshe Rabbeinu. Up to here, not frightening. Now comes the frightening part. Listen to a language of the Or HaChaim HaKodesh, it's a Zohar. Veloze nis'arech hagalus hazu. And this is the reason this galus is so long. Because Moshe eino chafetz ligoil am batlanim min hatoira. 8 frightening words. Moshe doesn't desire, Moshe doesn't want to redeem a nation that doesn't engage in Torah study. Amish. Frightening. We have a rule. Like Amida de Lormiza Beraisa. There's nothing that is not hinted to in the Torah. Where is this in the Torah? Everything is in the Torah. Where does it say this in the Torah? Therefore, the merit of Torah will come out. We have to go back to the first time when we went out. Parshas Beshalach. So it's shiny over there. It says, Uvnei Yisrael yoitzim beyad Rama. Literally translated.
But there's a message here for generations. The pasuk asks, Bnei Yisrael, Yoitzim, do you want to finally get out of Galus? It's only one way, the Torah says. Only one way. You can do it through Be Yad Rama. Yad is Yud Dalet Etzior Edea. Rama is Simen Reish Mem Hei. That's Hilchos Talmud Torah. You want to finally get out of Galus? The Torah says. You can only do it through the benefit of Torah. Because Moshe doesn't desire to redeem a nation that doesn't engage in the Torah study. Schus, the learning Torah. Torah Lishma. Philadelphia Community Kollel has it right. The Makom Shemegadlim Bo Torah, Makom Shemegadlim Bo Tefillah. People are sitting here and learning, I think, Lishma. I met many of you already over the years. B'schus the Torah that is learned here. B'schus Maran Sarah Torah Reb Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal. B'schus all the tzaddikim. B'schus Mordechai V'Esther from 2 weeks ago. Last week. Mitzvah Hashem. When we in fact learn Torah Lishma, we will merit to see all these things that Reb Meir taught us. And more importantly, we'll be able to see Tchias HaMesim. Reb Chaim Kanievsky will come back, holding hands with all the tzaddikim, past generations, including Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So Arivka, Rachel, and Leah. Mitzvah Hashem, there will be no more sour, there will be no more pain. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will wash off the tears of every living face. Mitzvah Hashem, we should all merit to have the next year in Yerushalayim Ir HaKodesh in front of Beis HaMikdash, B'kavod B'yameinu Amen.
Amen.